Welcome to episode 95 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's February 3rd, 1935. We're in Madrid at the old Chamartín, and we're about to walk into the biggest win in a league Clásico. Madrid 8, Barcelona 2. If you know the rivalry only through the modern lens, Bernabeu, Camp Nou, Champions League nights, global superstars, politics spoken loudly, this one can feel like a glitch in the archive. 8-2 doesn't sound like a scoreline that belongs to El Clásico. It sounds like a cup tie against a provincial side. But it happened. And the way it happened tells you something important about the early Clásico. This rivalry didn't start as a polished product. It started as a collision between two football institutions in a country still trying to decide what its institutions even were. If you remember episode 65, where we talked about Spain building football governance, regional power, and a long fight to create a single federation, this match lives in that same universe, a young league, young institutions, and old identities that already carried weight. Also, a quick clarification that matters. In 1935, it's not Real Madrid on the team sheet, it's Madrid, the club's official name during the Second Spanish Republic, when royal symbols were stripped away from institutions. So when I say Madrid in today's pod, I'm talking about the club we know as Real Madrid, but in its 1930s, crownless, Republican-era identity. But how did we get here? By 1935, La Liga is still young, only in its seventh season. Spanish football professionalism is still recent. Stadiums are tighter, pitches are rougher, and tactical ideas are still settling. But the Madrid-Barcelona relationship is already old. These clubs have been meeting since the early 1900s. They played cup ties that mattered before the league even existed. And by the time the league arrives in 1929, the fixture becomes something new, a recurring national argument, stages football, 10 or 12 times a decade. Still, in 1935, the rivalry is not yet Franco-era mythology. That comes later, and it changes the temperature forever. This is pre-Franco Spain, a tense politicized country under the Republic, with Madrid as the capital and Barcelona as the capital of Catalan identity, two magnets pulling in the same national story from different directions. So you can feel the subtext already, but the match itself, the match is football first, and it's chaotic football, because Madrid arrived with momentum and with goals in them. Barcelona arrived with talent, but with a defense that, on this day, will not survive the first half. Now we walk into Chamartín, and one of the most famous men in Spanish football is in the Madrid goal, Ricardo Zamora, El Divino, the star goalkeeper, the celebrity, the archetype. In front of him, a Madrid side that within half an hour turns the match into an avalanche. And the names that matter most today are not the ones casual fans know. They are Ildefonso Fernando Sañudo, nicknamed Pies de Oro, or Golden Feet, and Jaime Lazcano, because between them they deliver the kind of day that makes the stadium feel like it's tilting. 15 minutes in, Lazcano makes it 1-0. 2 minutes later, Barcelona respond. Josep Escolar levels it 1-1. And for a moment you can imagine a normal Clásico, tense, proud, balanced. But that moment lasts for about 4 minutes. Sañudo makes it 2-1. Luis Reguero 3-1. Sañudo again 4-1. And then, before halftime, Lazcano to 5-1. 5-1 at the break. And here comes one of those details that makes old matches feel alive. Barcelona complain, not about a foul, not about an offside, but about the ball itself. They say the bounce is strange. The ball is doing things that don't feel normal. Zamora's opposite number, Nogués, and defenders Zabalo and Rafa are in the referee's ear. Hace extraños, the goalkeeper says. It's bouncing oddly. And the complaint has a specific trigger. The fifth goal, a Lazcano cross shot that takes a singular bounce and wrong-foots the keeper. The referee, Francisco Villanueva, a young official, allows the ball to be changed for the second half. But it doesn't help, because the second half begins the way nightmares begin, immediately. Sañudo scores again. That's his hat-trick. Barcelona do get one back. Guzman makes it 6-2. And then the match completes its symmetry of cruelty. Lazcano finishes his hat-trick, and Sañudo scores again, his fourth goal. 8-2. Madrid scores, Sañudo 4, Lazcano 3, Reguero 1. Barcelona scores Escolar and Guzman. And that is the largest victory in a league Clásico ever. Now comes the part that always matters in this pod, the so what. Because the strangest thing about 8-2 is that it doesn't even decide the season. This is not one of those matches where the winner rides the scoreline into a title. Madrid don't win La Liga in 1935. They finish second, 1 point behind Betis. Betis, the club that to this day has only one league title. That's one of football's great little cruelties. Madrid put 8 past Barcelona and still don't lift the trophy. And Barcelona, they don't forget. Because here's the second cruelty. This season contains both extremes. Because a couple of months later, in the return league match, Barcelona take revenge with a 5-0. And the hero is Martin Bentrola, who scores 4. So the season becomes a strange mirror. Madrid win 8-2 at home, and then Barcelona win 5-0 at home. And if you want to understand why this rivalry lives on memory, not just trophies, you start there. Because Clásico don't just change the table, they change the stories people tell their children. But where does the 8-2 sit in the pantheon? If you try to build a top 10 Clásico lore list, not a ranking, but a hall of fame, this match is in it, and its company is ridiculous. You have the controversial 11-1 win to Real Madrid in 1943, the match that some people argue hardened the rivalry into political myth. You have Cruyff's Barcelona winning 5-0 at the Bernabeu in 1974, the day a new style walked into Madrid and didn't ask permission. You have Romario's 5-0 for Barça in 1994, and then 1 year later, the reverse Manita in 95, Madrid 5, Barcelona 0, with Mikel Laudrup in white, returning the rivalry's most symbolic scoreline. We did that story in episode 68. You have Ronaldinho at the Bernabeu in 2005, Barcelona winning 3-0, and the Madrid crowd doing the unthinkable, applauding him. You have the 2-6 in 2009, Guardiola's Barcelona turning the title race into theatre, and then the 5-0 in 2010, Guardiola versus Mourinho, a match that felt like an ideological demonstration. And what about Messi's 92nd minute winner at the Bernabeu in 2017, 3-2, shirt held up to the crowd, one of the most iconic images in modern football. And then you jump to a few weeks ago, in Saudi Arabia, the Supercopa Final, Barcelona 3, Madrid 2 again, because even when you export the Clásico to another continent, it still behaves like the Clásico. So when you look back at the 8-2, it stops being an outlier. It becomes an early proof of what this rivalry really is, a machine that produces extremes. This match was the largest league Clásico win. That's factual. But what matters more is what it reveals. In 1935, Spanish football is still learning how to be modern. The league is still new. The institutions are still young. A team can ask to change the ball at halftime because it's bouncing strangely. And yet, the rivalry is already strong enough to absorb it all and keep going. The Clásico doesn't begin when the marketing department says it begins. It begins when the matches start leaving scars. Madrid 8, Barcelona 2 is one of the first scar matches of the league era, a scoreline that didn't win Madrid the title, but did win them a permanent place in the rivalry's folklore. What 3 things should we take away from February 3rd, 1935? First, early Clásicos were played in a Spain that was still building its modern football machinery. La Liga was young, institutions were still settling. Madrid weren't even Real on the nameplate. A team could complain so loudly about the bounce of the ball that it gets changed at halftime, and all of that was still considered part of the game. Second, El Clásico has always been a factory for extremes. This isn't a modern invention of television pressure or social media amplification. In one season, you can get Madrid 8-2 Barcelona and then Barcelona 5-0 Madrid in the return. This rivalry doesn't just produce drama, it produces emotional whiplash. And third, tables fade faster than scars. Madrid didn't win the league that year. Betis did. But nobody needs a league table to remember an 8-2. Clásicos don't become folklore because they decide trophies. They become folklore because they decide how people feel about the other club. On this day in 1935, at the old Chamartín, Madrid tore open El Clásico's early league era with an 8-2 demolition. Sañudo scoring 4, Lazcano completing a hat-trick, Barcelona even demanding a ball change at halftime, a scoreline so extreme It outlived the season itself and became permanent Clásico folklore. That's all for episode 95 of OTD, the largest league Clásico win and the strange, beautiful chaos of early La Liga. If you got a favorite Clásico moment, I want to hear from you. Email me at otd@17lawsguy.com, and please rate this show 5 stars, subscribe, and tell a friend. Tomorrow, in episode 96, we go to February 4th, 1957, the Coupe de France, and one of the great cup shocks involving Stade de Reims and an Algerian club. See you then.